This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
It's the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Welcome back, folks. We're here with General Michael Flynn. I've said on many occasions that in my 45 years in American politics, I have worked with presidents, with governors, with U.S. senators, with members of Congress, with a few members of the military, leaders in the military. I have known no finer patriot, no finer gentleman, no finer Christian, but most importantly, perhaps, no finer leader than General Michael Flynn. And I am deeply personally convinced that his greatest single public service lies ahead. I am honored to have him today. General Flynn, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, thank you very much for that introduction. I really do appreciate you, your friendship, what you have done to serve this country. And I know in all the times we've been traveling with each other over the last couple of years now, that we've gotten to know each other and our families. I really admire your strength and your courage. So I just wanted to make sure I said that to your audience.
You know, it's funny. People on the left refer to General Flynn and I as the Flintstones. They think it's a derogatory term. You know what? We're proud of it, and I'm proud to be your friend. You and I didn't know each other in the time when we were both standing trial in the same courthouse, being persecuted by the same people. We had a text and a phone relationship, and many is the time when I was discouraged, when you gave me spiritual advice, told me to keep the faith and to keep my courage up and continue the fight. And I will be ever grateful for that. But what our families have been through, what happens when the full weight of the federal government is arrayed against you, particularly when you, in fact, have done nothing whatsoever wrong. When you're destroyed financially, and when they try to destroy you and your family personally, until you have been in that particular place, you really cannot understand it or appreciate it. Your courage through everything you went through is really a model for the American people. Michael Flynn served as the 42nd National Security Advisor to the Trump administration. During his military career, he played a key role in shaping U.S. counterterrorism strategy and dismantling insurgent networks in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And he was given many combat arms, conventional and special operations, senior intelligence assignments. I consider General Flynn, who has a deep appreciation for both American history and military history, one of the foremost experts on geopolitics in the world today. Because I come from the world of politics, shortly after I met General Flynn, I began urging him to memorialize his experience at the hands of the deep state in both a book and a documentary. It didn't really matter in which order, because I knew that the American left and their handmaidens in the mainstream media have this great tendency to create a lie, and then, despite that lie being debunked, disproved, discredited, come back and recycle the lie all over again as if it were still true. General Flynn has now done that and has worked with some great producers and directors to create a documentary film telling the true story of his career and the true story of what he and his family have been through. The name of that documentary, the short name is Flynn. But General Flynn, before we get into some interesting geopolitical questions. Tell us about the documentary.
So, really, thank you so much for that intro as well. I mean, the movie Flynn, Deliver the Truth, Whatever the Cost, is really a story of survival. It's a story of redemption, resurrection, and inspiration. It is a story of hope, not only for how people who get caught by our federal government in this just incredible levels of corruption that we have seen, and you and I have both experienced, but many other people experience this in their lives that don't have the platforms that we certainly had. When I look at conviction rates by our Department of Justice across the board, it's just horrific. These are our system of government, and particularly in the justice system, is incentivized by conviction rates and not discovering the truth. And as we know, with the Russia collusion thing, was all based on a lie. So the movie talks about one part. Really, the first part talks about my military experiences. And then it answers why me? Why was the deep state, why was the Obama administration so after me? What were some of the reasons behind that? And then the second part of the movie is really where my family comes in, and we talk about the persecution that one can go through, but how do you overcome that? And how do you maintain, not only your love of country or your respect for the things that matter, for what is good and right in our, in our lives, like our faith, our families, the strength of our families, but also, the story, the deep story of corruption. And there are things in this movie that will come out that nobody has heard before, really, and it'll be in my voice in this case, in those couple of instances, and from the mouths of my family. I think one of the people that come out really strongly in this, and I think a lot of people will see my wife for the first time, my wife, Lori, her and I have been together since we were little kids, been married for, I think over 43 years now. And two other named people that are in this who play a prominent role because of their knowing me and their knowledge of what is happening, not only in the country, the deep state, but across the board, are Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson plays a fairly prominent role in this, and Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes and I go way back. We first met in Iraq when he came over on a congressional delegation as a member of the House Representatives Permanent Committee on Intelligence. And we met then, and we had a great relationship from that point on till this day. And Tucker Carlson and I saw the world differently until he started to watch and witness what they were doing to, in my case, a 3-star general who had served this country not just honorably, but in many cases, in unprecedented ways. And I'm not one to pat myself on the back, but and I'll let others do that. But I would just say that my military career spans 33 plus years, 5 of those years in combat. And you don't do those things and suddenly turn into what the left, and the media started to describe me as. Nor you either. And I know you understand all this. And so anyway, the movie itself, people can go to flynnmovie.com. It's a great movie. I call it a story of survival, but it's a story of redemption, resurrection, and inspiration as well. I think people are going to be blown away when they see it.
Folks, that is flynnmovie.com. Grab a pen and pencil and write that down. I've seen the trailers. They're unbelievable. I'm going to attend the premiere on April 5th. I'm very excited about this. It really looks amazing. And it's important because the left will be right back to smearing General Flynn almost immediately. Even though the U.S. Justice Department reviewed his case and determined after the fact that he didn't lie to the FBI, that his entire indictment had been fabricated, the judge in his case, an ideologue more interested in politics than the law, for a long time refused to dismiss the case, even though the government, the prosecutors had moved to have it dismissed. It is an outrageous example of the deep bias of the judicial system in Washington, D.C. General Flynn, very famously, when President-elect Donald Trump met with sitting but outgoing President Barack Obama in the White House, Barack Obama told President-elect Trump that he could have anyone in his cabinet he wanted, anyone in his administration that he wanted. He said there was just one guy he should avoid. He said, stay away from Mike Flynn. That guy is bad news. Why do you think he said that?
And we do describe this in the movie, too. So I laugh because you just can't make this up. I mean, you're talking about a very short conversation, a handoff between one president of the United States of America to another. And what is Obama, President Obama at the time, President-elect Trump at the time, what does Obama tell him to not do? Don't hire this guy, Mike Flynn. And now you have to ask why. And there were good reasons why Obama said that, because he knew exactly what I was very capable of doing. And there's a metaphor of Flynn knows where the bodies are buried. And in the movie, flynnmovie.com, you can go and sign up there for notifications and such. But in the movie, I go into fair detail talking about this. Again, where the bodies are buried. Why did Barack Obama, say that to Donald Trump? And of course, Trump and I talk about this after Trump had that meeting. Trump and I then met. And we spoke to each other and had a good laugh about the whole thing. But, it's because of what I knew. And for people that don't know my full story, I was the head of one of the largest intel agencies in the world, the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is also responsible for all military, all the Department of Defense intelligence operations within the uniformed services. I'm also responsible for all defense attaches globally. And at that time, we were in 142 countries. So my responsibilities were humongous, right? I mean, they were monumental. And so I also dug into a lot of the financial shenanigans that were going on in my organization, certainly before I got there. And then after I got there, I ran an audit, and the bigger intel community and the leadership, particularly the political appointees, all the way on up to guys like Jim Clapper, who we do talk about in the movie. They knew what I knew. And of course, at the time that Obama said that to Trump in basically the late November of 2016, Clapper was the director of national intelligence. So he was still working for Obama, and they knew, God, we can't have this guy Flynn come in. He's going to catch us. He's going to find out everything that we're doing. Okay. Because that's what would happen. So they made a decision. And a little bit later on in the movie, we talk about this. They made a decision a little bit after that conversation between Obama and Trump to initiate the takedown. And as Roger said up front, what the special investigation of my case found was that I didn't lie to the FBI. They lied about me. And they dragged my family and I, just as they dragged Roger Stone's family, and did everything that they did to send guys in scuba gear to his home with guns, helicopters overhead, and of course CNN and it just so happened to be there. What a joke! But they did this to destroy not just President Trump, but they did this because they lost power of a country, in our country, in this case, beautiful United States of America. They lost power, and they didn't like losing power. And now we see what is happening. So the extraction or the second or third order effect of what happened to me, what happened to Roger Stone, is now happening in a much grander scale to Donald J. Trump, as they're trying to now take this man's property. I mean, this is what the British did prior to the revolution, right? They started to seize property. They started to take our livelihood, and they're doing this to a president of the United States of America, unprecedented in U.S. history, and it's a sad state that we are in. And to me, this is all still revolves around one guy who lives up on what's called Kalorama people that are in Washington, D.C. listen to this, where Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama lives, because he's still pulling the strings here in this egregious administration that we are facing to literally, I think, to destroy the very fabric of the American institution that we have called the United States Constitution, and we're a constitutional republic. And they'll say things like, these people they want to destroy democracy. They're going to destroy democracy. They're a danger to democracy. That right there, that's what they say about us. You're a danger to democracy. No, we're not. They're a danger to our Constitution and our constitutional republic. So back to that conversation between the outgoing president and the incoming president to isolate one man, me. Why? And I lay that out in the movie in spades, and I just addressed a little bit of it here, but it's incredible with all the problems that were going on around the world at the time that Obama gave up his administration. We were at war in multiple places. We were losing the war again against ISIS in the Middle East. Ukraine had already attacked in the spring of 2014 when Obama was in the White House. Now, I mean, war was pending again because of a horrific Democrat presidency. This is what typically happens with Democrats when they take the presidency, like we see right now with Biden. We have World War III on the horizon here, looming on the horizon, and if not, we're already in it. And they're going to go after a guy like Mike Flynn. God help us. And so I'll finish with this, Roger, because I know I'm going on. I want your audience to know that I have such deep respect for you, and it is my family and our obligation, particularly my family is a family of service, going all the way back to World War I. We will not quit. We will never relent. We will not give up. And all we want people to understand that all of us have a responsibility to stand up for our country. We don't fight our enemies overseas because we hate them. We fight because we love our families, our faith, especially our faith, and our country.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $999. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
Are you ready to unlock your creativity and transform your passion for beauty into a career? Southeastern College is here to help you take your first steps towards training for a career in cosmetology. Unlock your potential and start your path towards a career making people feel confident. It's time to invest in yourself. Visit sec.edu for more information on our programs and take the first step toward training for a brand new career in cosmetology. Your before and after story starts now at Southeastern College.
I must say it's an extraordinary misleading of President Donald Trump because if you don't want him to do something, then you would tell him, don't call Mike Flynn. The president's body man told me that he actually called you on the cell phone as soon as he left the White House to set up a meeting. So if you don't want to, if you don't understand Trump, telling him not to do something or that he can't do something is almost a guaranteed way to make him look at that and say, what are you trying to con me into? So I still think that your appointment was among his best, and that they were terrified of you. Let's switch to the situation in the country. We've got a few minutes here before we go to our one and only commercial break, and then we'll come back to you. But what is the readiness and the capability of our current armed services?
Yeah, the readiness levels of our current armed services are very, very low. Our readiness rates right now, if you were on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, we're probably hovering between a 1 and a 2 right now. Overall, the manning levels of our combat arms units are down. The stocks of our weapon systems, especially some of our most critical weapon systems, are down. Stocks of even ammunition are down. Much of our equipment is, in many cases, are manufactured in other parts of the world. We have recruiting levels, so the country writ large, the recruiting levels are down. I think we're going to be very short. Probably we could see shortages of 30 to 40,000 in our ranks coming up here at the end of this recruiting year. And I think what we're going to see is our military is probably going to lower the numbers, meaning lower the standard for what we need to fill our ranks up, and what we need in terms of a high standard for the types of people that we want to serve in our armed forces. I love those men and women who serve in our armed forces. I do think that we have a corporate leadership at the top, and I use that phrase very specifically, corporate leadership at the top of our military, and particularly in the uniform, wearing the uniform, that have bought into this diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and this critical race theory, and this social experiment that is taking place in our military right now. Our military is designed for one purpose, and that's to fight and win, keyword win, our nation's wars. And in order to fight and win our nation's wars, they have to be trained, prepared, and ready to do that. And none of those things are happening. We are wasting resources. We are wasting time. Our naval forces over in the Middle East right now that are sitting out in the Red Sea or the Arabian Sea or up in the Mediterranean, Eastern Med, they instead of being able to be brought back in to be refit and to have those crews brought up to strength again, they're out there floating around firing $2 million missiles at $50,000 drones. I mean, it's just insane, the policies that we are seeing that are driving our military to be a military that is not capable of fighting and winning if we really have to go to war. I will finish with this note. Russia, we should not underestimate Russia or the Russian military. We should not underestimate the Chinese or the Chinese military ever. When you underestimate your enemies and you think that, America, we always reflect back on World War II. We're not like the forces nor the country that we had in World War II. We have a very divided country right now, and I think we're divided over the lines of socialism versus being an American constitutional system of government, and we really are in a tough spot. I fear for our country right now, and for me to say that with you, Roger, on your show to your audience it should be a concern for every American.
All right, if you're just tuning in, folks, this is the Roger Stone Show at 77 WABC. We're talking to General Michael Flynn, and we will be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Roger Stone Show at 77 WABC, and we are privileged to have my friend, General Michael Flynn, 42nd National Security Advisor to the President of the United States. He is the centerpiece of a new documentary film, Flynn. It's an amazing project which will memorialize for all time what actually happened to this man, how he has served his country honorably, the outrageous and illegal attempt to destroy him for political purposes, and how he has not only survived it but has thrived and reemerged as a spokesman for freedom, for the Constitution, and to prepare citizens for the epic fight ahead. You can get that by going to Flynn FlynnMovie.com, I guess it is. I think I got that right. But I highly recommend it to you. General Flynn, we see all of this, what I consider war propaganda from the mainstream media about the situation between Ukraine and Russia. We were assured that with their offense earlier this year that the Ukrainians would prevail, but people like Colonel Douglas Macgregor and Colonel John Mills and you, frankly, that's not the reading that I get. What's really going on in the ground in the struggle between Ukraine and Russia?
Yeah, I want people to understand Ukraine has always been a hub for human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapon smuggling, narcotics, large narcotics flow through, and principally heroin, which comes out of Afghanistan, which is the largest producer of heroin in the world. And that's a conversation for another day between you and I, Roger. Maybe we'll do that on the show as to why Afghanistan and how it relates to heroin. But these are the things that Ukraine was known for. Also, of course, biolabs, right? The ability to be able to do things in a country and get away with so much. Money laundering is another component of what Ukraine was really all about. And so we have all these people we call them the Uniparty in Washington, D.C., that want to continue to fund this racket we call war. I do talk about this in the movie, FlynnMovie.com. I do talk about this. And in 2 seconds, I just want to say to your audience, I want to, highlight again, thank you so much for pushing me to document history, because it needed to be documented. It's not just a historical documentary, but it's the idea of getting my voice heard in this way in a documentary, and of course, an upcoming book as well. But this issue in Ukraine and what's happening, this is a distraction, and wars are, I say war is a racket. It allows the nation to be constantly distracted. We constantly hear about it. We're flowing money over there to the tune of about $15,000 per U.S. citizen. That's what it comes down to. About $15,000 per U.S. citizen is the amount of money that has been flowing over to Ukraine for what is a losing effort. We really have no business doing this. There's no expansionism that the Russians have shown. Now, I will tell you, because of the negative influences of NATO and what NATO leadership has talked about, and to include the United States, there have been talks about use of nuclear weapons. Russia has now gone to a much higher level of war footing, and so these are very dangerous times. And it would be like China, although they probably are there. It would be like the Chinese camping out on our southern border. But we now know, because of the invasion at our southern border, we now know that the Chinese have already come into this country to the tune of over 100,000 military-aged men inside of our country coming across the border. Never mind those who reside in our government, who are or other institutions like colleges, universities, and corporations. So we're in a really, really interesting time to be matter of, to be a little bit circumspect about everything. This is very interesting times. I don't believe we have the leadership that we need. In fact, I know we don't have the leadership that we need, certainly in the White House, to be able to withstand what it is that we are walking into. And that's why we need to get, I think, one of the greatest presidents of our time, my time, President Donald J. Trump, back into the White House. God help us. If we don't get him back into the White House, I don't know what's going to happen to this country. These people those in charge right now are going to lead us into a war that's unnecessary, and extracting ourselves from it it was unlikely. So it's an unnecessary war, and it's unlikely that we're going to be able to get extracted from it. And that could signal really talk about danger to democracy. That's really what we're facing with this administration.
All right. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Please, folks, go to FlynnMovie.com, FlynnMovie.com. Find out how you can get tickets or buy the DVD of this amazing film. It's important. It will memorialize for history the story of this great American patriot, People don't know this, but General Flynn, I think he's on the road more than he's at home. I think he sleeps in hotel beds more than he does his own bed, because he's constantly out preaching readiness to the American people, preaching the truth about the dangers this nation faces. And his energy level is extraordinary, and his commitment to the country literally knows no bounds. General Michael Flynn, thank you for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
God bless, Roger. Thank you, and thanks to your great audience.
Folks, I've promised you before the end of the show today that I'm going to reveal my mother's recipe for pizza gain. Pizza gain is a traditional Italian Easter deep dish pie. It's really a much anticipated savory treat in our family. It's usually made at Easter. It can normally be quite an undertaking to prepare, but I've got a simplified recipe for you that came from my Nana, passed down from my mother. Involves eggs, cheese, salami, mortadella. You can throw pepperoni in there. You're going to love this recipe, and I'm going to tell it to you before the end of the show. This is Roger Stone. This is The Roger Stone Show. You're at 77 WABC Radio, and we'll be right back.